I just purchased the most beautiful mass-produced sedan ever made, and I paid mind-blowingly low price for it. In this video, I will show you everything that is wrong with this car, and that's gonna blow your mind. In fact, this video is gonna be one of the many videos about this car. I'm gonna document my journey of owning the best 7 Series ever made, from the purchase, which just happened a few days ago, to the sale. And I'm gonna have Daddy DeMiro help me to sell this car on Cars and Bits. Let's go. That's right, I'm gonna sell this later on Cars and Bits. I'm not sure when, but I know the only people who would be interested in buying a 25-year-old BMW probably hanging out around DeMiro. But anyway, why I purchased this car? I truly believe that this 7 Series, the E38 generation, was the best looking 7 Series, the best driving 7 Series. And the pop culture would agree with me. This is the only 4-door car that ever appeared in a James Bond movie, which already says a lot about this car. Secondly, I believe it had the same paint color too in a Transporter. You know, this car made Jason Statham very famous. And then the 750iL version of it was driven by Tupac when he got shot and killed in it. That was super unfortunate. But anyway, this is the 740iL version. Some people would say the shorty version of it, the regular sized rear door of it, would be the ideal version of 7 Series, but I couldn't find one in a really decent shape or decent price. I found, however, this one. I've been hunting for 7 Series E38 for a while now, around 9 months, and I wanted to find one in decent shape for decent price, and I truly believe this is it. It drives awesome. It has almost no issues, which I'm going to show you around just in a bit. And I only paid $3,200 for it. It was listed for $4,800. After negotiating with the seller, I was able to bring it down all the way to $3,200. And it has one modern benefit. The infotainment system has the really huge screen, actually, with the CarPlay and everything else. To be honest, that makes owning this car a little bit easier. I love listening to my music when I'm driving, and having the CarPlay really makes it easy. I mean, look at this beautiful back. God, what a fine ass, right? But here's this angle that shows how much more significant the rear door is. This is the L version, like I said, and people didn't like it, most of them, but I truly think it's not a big deal. It's still a gorgeous car. You cannot make this car look any ugly, even with a bigger rear door. But sitting in the back seat with all their knee room and headroom makes it such an enjoyable drive experience as a passenger as well. But can we admire the way this car looks? I mean, look at the lines. Look at the front end. It is so angular in a perfect proportion. It just makes it so beautiful. And then these iconic golden era BMW headlights with its grille. This era of BMW made the E38 and everything else in the lineup at a time. I mean, it was the best lineup if you think about it. This was the top dog, obviously, the top of the line BMW. And then the E46, the E39, the BMW Z8, the X5 came out around this generation as well. It was truly the best era, the golden era of BMW. Unfortunately, now that is completely gone, and what's happening still to BMW, kind of sad, but it is what it is. All we have to do is just find really rare finds of these kind of cars in good condition and keep enjoying them, keep filming, keep documenting. That's my goal with this car. I've never documented and never put the ownership of specific vehicle into the journey from purchase to sale, and that's what I'm gonna do with this car. I'm gonna see what's gonna happen with this car throughout my ownership, meaning what kind of problems I'm gonna have and what I'm gonna have to fix. But I want to be fully transparent for the next buyer, because I know I'm not gonna own this car for too long, but I always wanted to try it. And in fact, I just purchased this car 3 days ago, and I already put over 400 miles on it. That's how much I've been enjoying it, and so far, so good. So now let me show you around what's wrong with the car. All right, we're gonna start with walking around this beautiful car, and I'm gonna start with cosmetic issues that it has. To be honest, that's the only issue it has, some cosmetic issues. Let's start up front. I absolutely in love with multi-spoke classic BMW wheels right there, and then it has obviously some rock chips, right? I mean, it's a 25-year-old BMW, so little things here and there, and then some scratches, as you can tell. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but the first thing first, what I'm gonna do with this car is obviously take it to a detailer and try to remove every scratch possible, and then put the paint protection on it and maybe even ceramic coating, and it's gonna look way better. But to be honest, it doesn't look terrible because the paint is original. It was, I believe, owned by just a couple people, maybe 3, maybe 4. I haven't ran the Carfax yet, but it doesn't have any dents, any real like actual damages besides this one in the back. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to just replace this trim here. I believe it is attached to the bumper, but I'm gonna see if I can fix it. To be honest, it doesn't bother me. This was a great negotiation point for me and leverage to get a better deal. But check this out, it's got historic plates. It is 25 years old. It qualifies for it. 740 IL. So in the back, it's a little dirty, but that's about it. I haven't even washed it since I bought it, since, you know, Arizona weather is pretty good. There's no rains really. I didn't have to even wash it. It's a little dusty, but that's about it. But yeah, everything else looks pretty good. Wheels are decent, just need some cleanup. And all I see is really up front. Some scratches on the hood, some rock chips, and that's about it. Even the lower part of the bumper is all solid. And the sun is pretty harsh. I believe this was bought in Arizona and it lived in Arizona its whole life. But the paint is solid, as I said. So this was garage park though. I see a little chip right here, but that's it. On the exterior, it looks really good. I'm super excited to make it even better. And then on the interior, we obviously gonna have some, you know, wear on the leather. I'm not sure if I can do much about it. I'm gonna do obviously clean it, but overall it also looks very, very decent. Like I said, a little dirty, but that's not a problem. This little door pocket in the back, a little saggy, but again, it's 25 years old. I just admire the condition of this specific car because this is the most decent condition of E38 I could find in 9 months for the price I paid. I didn't want to spend more than $4,000 for it because I knew these cars don't have that much material value, monetary value, but from car value, this is a lot of car for $3,200, and it is in decent shape, really decent shape. So it has this big screen, but let me this is gonna blow your mind because as you start this car, watch this. Ah, yes. Check this out. I'm gonna close the door. It doesn't have a single light on the gauge cluster, and like I said already, I put over 400 miles, as you can see. There we go, 433 miles, as you can see. I bought the car 3 days ago and I've been driving it around all over Phoenix and it is so good. But I thought some kind of light will come out as I start driving it around. But I drove over 400 miles and not a single light came on, and that's a good sign. And then it has the CarPlay. Look at this. Via Bluetooth, it is already connected to my phone. There's music. I mean, this is great. Look at this. And this makes owning this 7 Series 25-year-old BMW way easier. I love it. But there you go. And now a couple other things that is wrong with this car. So the sunroof doesn't open, unfortunately. I believe it's the motor, but again, it's 25 years old. It's not a big deal for me personally. If you are a future buyer and buying this car on Cars and Bids, I don't think I'm gonna fix this, to be honest. I never use sunroof anyway, and I don't think a lot of people do. But everything else, almost everything else, works as it should, except the passenger side rear window. Oh, this one does go down, my side, as you can tell, but the passenger side unfortunately does not. So I'm gonna look into that, not the moonroof, sunroof, and I'm gonna try to fix that one. But overall, it is a little dirty, but all solid. The dash looks awesome, not a single light in the gauge cluster, which is mind-blowing. AC works great because it is 90 degrees already, and it's not even 7 a.m. here in Phoenix yet. It's a beautiful car. So since we already started the car, let's take it for a drive. Oh yes, First off, can we admire the fact that this car has no lights on the gauge cluster? I mean, how crazy is that? I'm pretty sure throughout my ownership, I'm probably gonna have to deal with some of the lights, but seller just passed the emission on this. Here in Arizona, we still have to pass the smog, and it passed it no problem. I have the paper proving it, but it is just amazing that 25-year-old BMW 7 Series has no light on the gauge cluster. So obviously that's the biggest benefit so far throughout my ownership, right, of this car. But it drives awesome, and I believe why the E38 generation 7 Series is the best is because the way it drives. It was never directly competing with 7 Series in my opinion, and that's why BMW did so well in its golden era. It wasn't pursuing S-Class at all. S-Class was all about luxury. Just like this car, it's still a big car, but S-Class against this one, it drove like a boat. This car, however, it is so athletic, it is so sporty, it is so enjoyable to drive that it just blows your mind because it's a big car, the biggest sedan right at the time, the BMW lineup, but it is so athletic. And I think that's the benefit of 7 Series of E38 generation, and that's why it is considered, like I said, the best 7 Series. It is still very luxurious, still very soft going over the bumps and potholes, but at the same time, the steering is so much more precise. I remember I never owned the S-Class, but driving it around, my friend had a 2001 S-Class, and I didn't really like the interior as well. This interior is so classy. In my opinion, BMW from this generation aged really well. As far as the interior goes, it's very simple, driver-oriented, center console. It makes it so good. And with this modern screen, I mean, it's something. It is definitely something. It doesn't feel that old here. It has the Apple CarPlay, you know, with Apple Play and Car Android, whatever it's called. But then there's a gauge cluster. It looks like a fine watch to me. But anyway, the way it drives, the way it looks is why this 7 Series always gonna be an iconic one. And I know it's not really appreciated by the market, and that's okay. And that's why I want to take this car once I'm done with it, once I'm fully enjoyed it. I want to take this to Cars and Bids, to the circle that would appreciate this car. And yeah, I'm not gonna get a lot of money out of it, and I didn't pay that much anyway, but I wanted to document my journey of owning the pop culture icon, the best 4-door sedan, the most beautiful 4-door sedan ever made, and I want you to come along my journey. All right, see you in the next one.